They're getting booty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.
All disturbing posters plastered on New York City subway cars referring to the incident as a lynching. Al Sharpton called the verdict, quote, blatant legalization of civilian vigilantism. And CNN also called Penny a vigilante.
Later in the night, we're also going to talk about Penny and the verdict there. Mm-hmm. There you also have a victim who somebody determined did not deserve to continue living, right?
No.
Yeah, tell me which vigilante action is okay.
One is being proactive, right? So this kid who executed someone.
Founder of Black Lives Matter of Greater New York is now calling for black vigilantes.
Just like everybody else seeks justice on their own, just like everybody else has vigilantes, we need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
But wait for it. The man accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is seen by some as a folk hero. New Yorkers celebrated the suspect with a look-alike contest shortly after the murder. Former Washington Post reporter, you won't believe this, Taylor Lorenz, called Thompson's murder joyful.
How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's been gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Of Americans that he's murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people.
Should they all be killed then? Should they all be killed, these healthcare executives? Would that make you even more joyful?
No, that would not.
But why not?
And,
why are you laughing?
I think because it wouldn't fix the system.
You seem to find the whole thing hilarious.
I find your question funny.
A bloke's been murdered in the street. I don't find it funny at all.
And the Washington Post at one point had that woman on payroll. She's no longer there. It's not a funny, laughing matter, and the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, doesn't think so either.
In some dark corners, this killer is being hailed as a hero. Hear me on this. He is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's this morning. This killer was not a hero. He should not be hailed.
The hero is indeed the McDonald's worker. I thought to myself, would I be able to recognize this individual? And I thought, no, but this brilliant McDonald's worker did. And Emily, here's what he got in return, he or she. This was the Reddit responses that were written to the stupid bleep that ratted out my baby Luigi Manangino. You will be dealt with. Out of solidarity, I will be boycotting all McDonald's in the area. I would suggest you consider doing the same. That McDonald's worker should get Employee of the Year and should be very proud of him or herself.
That's right. I think the way to deal with this detritus is to not give it oxygen. I think, unfortunately, there's always going to be a rash of extreme viewpoints, and unfortunately, it's fostered and fomented by social media, including the manifesto by the alleged suspect, right? So the antidote to that, don't give it oxygen, don't publish it, continue showing Brian Thompson's face, not the murder suspect. Say Brian Thompson's name, not the murder suspect.
Boom. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Small Town Underground. This Wednesday evening, and I didn't mean to go that long, but I'm in a new location tonight, so I'll explain that in just a second. I'm going to make sure that everything is good. I was getting on a little bit late because naturally in a new place on a different computer where I had to reset everything up. So bear with me, folks, as we get the show started this evening. As you can see, I'm in a completely different place. I'm going to call it the secret lair. No, I did not get my hair cut. It was a busy, busy day at work today, and we got real dirty, so I just had to put it up. But my apologies for last week. So what has been going on in the area is certain internet companies were having what they call a lot of brownouts. And in my main location in the studio, we're having these massive internet interruptions, and the thing about it is they don't last that long. Okay, and the plan that we have, it updates me and emails me when these things are happening. So last week it was just a series of what we call an internet brownout, and it happened like 10 minutes in the stream. There's nothing I could do about it. And then I decided to try to do it again, and nothing I could do about it after about 6 minutes. So I had something special planned for last week that I'm now going to put out as a separate video, not a live, because it deals with a lot of things that I'm breaking down and continually getting information. It's basically about the Georgia tax court. And there were several other things that we were going to discuss, but I'm just like anybody else in this game, trying desperately to make all these things work. And after you just sit there and do research for a few hours and you're writing all these notes, and then it just fell by the wayside. And it just took the breath out of me for a little bit, because we've been going pretty faithfully for a while on this, trying to keep the ball rolling as much as we can, and come out every Wednesday night. And so as you can see, I've just been playing around with the programs, and I've got this new place, and it's kind of cold in here. So I got me a little buddy heater, and I got this backdrop, and I've got some stuff ordered. So we're going to continue to diversify Small Town Underground, and this will give me an opportunity to be able to not always rely on just that one spot, especially because even I can tell you I probably had 10 brownout emails in the last week just from random times, and man, that kills me. So you don't ever notice it unless you're streaming, but I'm kind of excited because this is going to be a little bit different atmosphere than what I'm used to. So this whole thing I've just been playing around with a little bit. I did the little graphics up in the corner that change and all that. So anyhow, I don't plan on staying on here very long, but out of all the stuff today that I wanted to try to cover, the main focus of this is going to be a little bit about what me and several other people have been talking about a plan of action for 2025, kind of moving forward. And where do we go from here? Because I feel like I'm in this victory slump, right? And talk about this with all kinds of other people. The Trump won the election. We put so much time, so much effort, so much collaboration into securing a Trump victory against a lot of odds, right? And it happened, and we were joyous, and I think we had just a few days where I guess the shock and awe was so overwhelming. The media actually had to come to their senses, like come to the grips of reality. And then what happens, the same thing as always, the Mockingbird cycle starts all over again, and our attention spans become so unfocused. We're looking at 20 different things coming at us all the time, right? It's almost too hard to pick out a topic and discuss it, especially for me whenever I look at so much. So I try to craft the shows around specific things that I want to get out. And but man, it's like every 24 hours there's something else going on that begs your attention. So it's a little bit hard for me and many others to focus on, especially when we're not doing this nightly. But it also gives me a chance to reflect, right? To not do the knee-jerk reaction, to kind of marinate on things a little bit. And to me, it helps me clarify a little bit more in my head. But But I wanted to start off this evening with the ridiculousness, and I had several different videos that I could have shown. The Piers Morgan interview with Taylor Lorenz about this United Healthcare worker that was the CEO that was killed by this Luigi Marangoni or whatever. So we know a lot more than we did a few days ago, and we still don't know anything really. We know this guy got picked up at a McDonald's like 260 miles away. He checks. He has all the check marks of the person who did this. Yet we are still nowhere near determining if he is the real person or what. I mean, we're just getting information coming at us at a breakneck speed. But I found it very disturbing watching this Piers Morgan interview with Taylor Lorenz and about her being joyful about these types of things, and people referring to this person as a vigilante killer and all these things. It's sort of insane to wrap your mind around. Now, this is nothing new under the sun, and there's a lot of arguments that can be made. Well, people say this happens every single day. This is nothing different. What about this? What about that? And I understand you can have a conversation around, what happens, and then you can have a conversation around the insurance and how kind of sucky it is. And there's a lot of numbers and graphs and things that you can pull together and make things sound incredibly awful. But to be in a culture where we're having people actively celebrating the death of the CEO or the death of anybody, for example, really, because I have been in this game for quite a while, and we on the right are anybody that is right of center is considered an extremist, right? And we've just went through years of being compared to the high, Mr. Higler. We have been called terrorists of the state, enemies of the state. We have been constantly, people like myself have been accused in the media of wanting violence and creating violence and all of this this rhetoric that we simply know isn't true. And I've always maintained that we are always looking for the voice of reason, right? Logic. We want to talk things out. We want to make actionable moves. We want to create relationships with people. We want to try to bring out the best of every situation. But to see somebody like Taylor Lorenz on, national television, on a huge YouTube channel, talking about being joyful that things like this are now happening, to listen to the stupidity, the absolute stupidity of Black Lives Matter and what they're saying, number one, it's insulting to me. It's absolutely insulting to me that these people are up here spewing such garbage, right? Now, like I said, I'm a staunch constitutionalist. Freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want to say. But the fact is that there's zero shame in this sort of race baiting, this culture of anarchism, that the complete disregard for life is beyond me. Now, I'm a working class citizen. I have insurance. My family has insurance. Insurance costs a lot of money. It goes up every year. There's a lot of things that are wrong with the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, obviously the insurance industry. But to think how ironic and insane it is that these same leftists that come out in support of a murder of this magnitude, yet they chastise the upcoming administration for having a Democrat like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is promising to take the poisons out of our food, the poisons out of our water, to take these cancer-causing chemicals away, to dismantle the pharmaceutical industry as it is, right? We have all these net positives that are coming out from a cabinet of such. And yet these people are such brain-dead idiots. They're so moronic, and they have to die. They have to die on this emotional hill of lunacy that they celebrate. Like, what do you think that this is going to accomplish? Something like this? Because at the very beginning of all of this, the first thing that every CEO of every company did was immediately get a security team. They went straight to the internet and pulled all of that information off. Now, if you go search for any CEO in any company, basically you're not going to find hardly anything. It's just made it harder to reach out to people and find information or be able to know who to talk to. It's literally it's the adverse effect of what these lunatics are saying that it's doing. But you literally cannot do anything at all. Pete Hegseth, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but Pete Hegseth, he must be picked as our defense secretary. The man, Donald Trump, the entire administration is saying peace through strength. And you can't even get these leftist lunatics on the same page. Nobody, well, besides the neocons, but the vast majority of people like myself want to end the wars, all wars. We want world peace. We want people to live next to each other and figure out how that they're going to do that. We don't want the military industrial complex. We do not want any more wars started. We had 4 years of no new wars. We had peace through strength. And the idiocracy of these people, they still will fight tooth and nail against it. You have Black Lives Matter, who was defunct for the last 4 years. They were nowhere to be found, except every time you turned around, there was millions and millions of dollars being embezzled from the black community, from the poor people, from the lunatics that supported such a thing. And they went and bought mansions with all this stuff, and they spent the money. Now, 4 years, they've been defunct. They've been gone. No need for Black Lives Matter. We've got Joseph Barr Biden. Now, 37 days from the January the 20th, all of a sudden, you've got Black Lives Matter out here calling for black vigilantes. It's insane. It's very, very insane. And I cannot wrap my mind around this lunacy, okay? I can't do it. Because it just, for example, we talk about echo chambers, right? We talk about how we want to reach more people. I seriously do not believe at this moment in time. I mean, obviously, we have got to do everything we can to chip away at this evil, sludgy culture, right? Where somebody like Taylor Lorenz is proud to get up and say the kind of crap that she says, right? We have to chip away at this, but it just seems like there's no more reasoning with people who think this way. You know, they used to be called intellectuals, right? You know, there was the term liberal. Oh, he's an intellectual. It's just a fancy word for a liberal, right? But there seems to be no more conversation, no ways of reaching across the aisle. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a teetotal idiot. And you listen to the garbage that she spews, and it's like, how on earth can you talk to somebody like that? Talk reason and logic, right? They do not live in reason and logic. They live in this fantasy world where whatever that they deem as reality is reality, right? Facts do not matter. And it's scary. Because when you get to this point in civilization, right, and we've said this 100 times before, but we're seeing it play out in slow motion. Now we are celebrating so-called vigilantes. This is cause for an alarm because the media tends to treat these kind of situations as brazen, right? In other words, you will have your normal MSNBC and CNN. They're going to keep continually running this thing, but they're going to be focusing on the gaslight, which is, well, these brave people, and showing you all this crap. And psychologically, this will it'll give people more incentive to come out. Because, I mean, even if these manifestos were not real, they were fake, talking about how Martin Luther King and Gandhi were the role models. Well, they didn't get anything done, right? Now it's violence, right? I'm not trying to doom and gloom, but you need to understand that if you go back to the Summer of Love, we've talked about it here so many times, okay? We talk about COVID. Lots of information coming out about COVID shedding, about how it was all a man-made virus. It did leak Wuhan. I mean, all this stuff. Everything that we spent years trying to wake people up and make them understand that this was all a pandemic, if you will. It's coming true. It's reality. But all of this transpired under the first Trump administration. And they were successful at shutting down everything, right? Until now, we have had to endure these last 4 years, obviously, because this is a spiritual war. I mean, you may not believe that, but this is really good versus evil, and it's evidently clear, right? Every single day when somebody like Taylor Lorenz goes on TV and says, "I'm joyful," it's evidently clear this is a spiritual war. And so, God, in my opinion, has opened this Pandora's box of insanity, so that the lines can be very, very clear, right? Well, that goes both ways, because if you're calling these people martyrs and you're calling them vigilantes and you're giving people more reason, more incentive to do these things, what do you think that the future is going to hold, right? That is the scary part of this nation. As we prepare to go into January the 20th with a new administration, a new cabinet, a border wall, the plan has been laid out for immigration. The plans are being laid out desperately, I believe, to stop the wars, as we see the current administration, who are completely trying to placate everything that we're trying to stop, with the fall of Syria and Assad, Israel, Iran, of course, Russia, Ukraine, and the whole time we're completely still silent on China. I mean, we've got some major geopolitical storms happening right now. And we couldn't get to January 20th faster, right? Now, I told you guys a couple weeks ago I did not think that we were going to go to nuclear war. And I still believe that. I still believe, no matter what the media is telling you, because we haven't gotten the real story in years, okay? You must assume that most everything is some sort of a lie to begin with, until you can let the smoke settle, all right? And it's precisely the reason I've never covered geopolitics. Number one, because I'm not really smart enough to do that. I listen to it a lot, but I can't do anybody justice because all the information that I get is second and third hand, and it's the same for the people who are very well versed in it, because it's always been the fog of war, right? But make no mistake, these things are happening, and we just have to be prepared. Now, going back to the nuclear option, I don't believe that Russia is going to fire a nuclear weapon. That being said, if we can get through the next, few weeks without major provocation, which is already taking place, right? The lines have been crossed so many times, I thought we'd be blown up a couple of years ago. Okay? And I'm glad I'm wrong. But I believe that the majority of the world is on a holdout right now to get this new administration in place so that we can pull all of our bull crap back, right? Trust the plan. And that's what we're trying to do. But guys, before I move into the next and final segment here, you just need to know that we're going to have to tread into the new year, and then especially the next couple years, with everything that they have left being thrown at us, right? They're already heating up with disease X, disease Y, disease Z. There's multiple fronts at play here. And my advice is to have no fear moving forward. Don't pay too much attention to this gaslighting and fear, right? I've paid attention to it for years. I still do, very much so. But don't think that I'm above a psychological warfare any more than anybody else is. All of this stuff continues to grab us, grab our attention spans, grab our minds to try to keep us away from the true things, like what's going on behind the scenes, under the surface, right? Artificial intelligence, transhumanism, all these things are money possibly changing over to digital currency. There's so many things at play here that keep us in this arena of constant sort of confusion and dealing with things outside of the scope of what's just being pushed right along, right? And that we really can't change, but I guess we need to be aware. But no fear. Don't let them gaslight you out of, anything. But what do we always talk about? Be prepared and understand the situations, all right? As we move into 2025, as the lines continue to get clearer and clearer about who is fighting for good, truth, justice, and who is fighting to destroy this country, okay? Let's not let them take advantage of our communities, our places our homes, okay? And let's always be vigilant ourselves at our surroundings, where we go, the things we do, because people are crazy. And we're seeing it play out like absolute crazy. And it's not just this one incident. But mind you, what Black Lives Matter was telling everybody the other day on national television is that they are gearing up for 2025. Antifa is telling you they're gearing up for 2025. Don't forget about these Palestinian groups and these Israeli groups. All of these people are gearing up for civil strife, possibly a civil war. And no, we're not talking about muskets. We're not talking about marching down the street. We're just talking about complete civil war that of your mind, your body, your spirit, everything. And we just need to be prepared moving forward. Make sure that you are safe. Make sure that you are constantly, let people know where you're at. Watch the places you go and the crowds that you choose to be in, because no doubt they're gearing up to create chaos all around. I mean, can you imagine what it's going to be like when they start deporting illegal immigrants all across this nation? I don't think my mind can even comprehend like how that's going to look, right? And I'm trusting in the Trump administration to go about it the right way, right? To get this cabinet filled. I'm trusting that it's going, because what I mean is, it doesn't matter how good that they do it. You know that the mainstream media is going to exploit every possible facet of this, and people will eat this hook, line, and sinker. Trying to straighten the ship, trying to become back to America first, just gives these ideological fools all the fuel that they need to create havoc. All right, and we are always that sort of defense line, right? We are always playing catch up, reactionary, and we must be, right? Because that's the rule of law. That's our common sense, logic, and reason. We are not the people that are trying to go out and burn this place down. And unfortunately, that's just something we got to deal with. But make no mistake, I mean, we're definitely not going to let anybody run over us or our families. We're going to protect everything that is sacred to this nation. But again, think about the implications of a DOGE, for example, right? A great, great thing. Cut government spending. Cut out all of this government waste. Well, if you think for 1 minute, Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary, if you think for 1 second that these people are packing up their boxes and ready to go, sure, we're seeing a few. Christopher Wray, right? He's resigning. The only reason that man's resigning is because he doesn't want to be there when the crap hits the fan and he loses his pension, right? Which I hope that he does. I hope that the man goes to jail. Some of these people need to go to jail. We need accountability. But my point is can you imagine, these people are gearing up for battle. They are not gearing up to leave. They're not gearing up to just throw in the towel. And they will have every excuse under the sun in their mind, in their reality, to fight back against this and believe that they are on the side of good and justice and all this. So you got to just think about that moving forward. We're watching this unfold day in and day out. And don't be fearful of it, but understand it. Understand that we're not out of the woods yet. And I got to admit, it's been good to just kind of kick back and chill out, and hey, and it's good to think about the possibilities, but you got to understand that we're not out of the woods. We're going to be inundated more and more, and these people are going to get more and more brave, and they're going to say things that make no sense, that are absolutely horrible, and they've got the platforms to do it, and we're going to continue to fight against that. So, it's just what we have to deal with. So, anyway, I'm not going to stay on long. I'm going to get to comments here in just a little bit. But the show is called A Plan for 2025. And so, Christopher Mora, who is the GOP chair for Pickens County, invited me to speak last night. And I've worked with Chris a little bit in the past, as much as we could, being an hour and a half so away from each other. But he's a great guy, and he's got a great GOP. And they gave me an opportunity to speak last night, which is the first time that I've ever spoken like about me, Small Town Underground. So it was an honor, but I wrote out some notes. I was pretty scared to do that. But the funny thing is when we got there to the facility, and there was kind of just a free-form talk, and I had wrote notes down that day of just kind of how I wanted to lay this out, and lo and behold, the conversations that the people were having, and I was just listening, it was just like hitting on all cylinders exactly about what I was thinking, where I was going with this, and like I said, I beg the Lord, help me to make sure that I'm doing what I need to be doing. And I'm like anybody else, man. My gas tank runs empty. We're 24/7, 90 to nothing. But it reinvigorated me yet again, because when I got up to speak, everything had kind of already been said. We just kind of reiterated it together. The room was on fire, and it made me feel really good, because sometimes you don't know what people are thinking, but there's a lot of people thinking the same things all the time, and it's mainly in Georgia about how do we move forward in 2025. So I'm not even gonna release it. I know it got recorded, and I don't want to release it. I don't even like the thought of that being out, because it's just me, my psyche. But the point is that there are some things that I think that we can do moving into 2025 that will help the grassroots gain a lot of footing. Okay, so first off, I'm a nobody, right? And when I say that I'm a nobody, what I mean is that I'm not out here, I'm not running for office. I'm not trying to get a position. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm just a small town dude sitting here running my mouth. Okay? And it's the nobodies, I think, that will have the upper hand if we do it right. But we're always being sold something by the somebodies, right? The people that want our votes, the people that want us to support them, they come at us as friends, and they talk with us, and they're very passionate about the things that we're passionate about, and they tell us exactly what we want to hear and the things that they're going to do, and we've got to change. We have got to make this right. And as soon as they get elected, they go the opposite way, right? Not everybody, but the vast, vast majority of them. They could care less. All they needed was that vote. All they needed was to get that foot in the door, right? And let me pull my notes here. But that's where people like the nobodies come in, because of these actions, it has created people like me who aren't bought and paid for by anybody, who have really nothing to sell, and just stood up and said, hey, we're going to get up here and we're going to start talking real talk, and we're going to try to get involved and change the situation, right? And so I'm very proud to be a nobody, because there's a lot of nobodies out there, far more than there are the somebodies, and we are now realizing our power. We're now realizing what our capabilities are, right? I'm also a Georgia voter. I vote in every election. I've voted in every election since I was old enough to vote. And I've always voted Republican my whole life, because I've always kind of been a conservative. Now, like I said, I grew up in the 90s, punk rock, grunge era, still love the stuff, still have very good friends, still go to concerts, a little Quentin Tarantino kid, right? But, you know, when you grow up and you start raising a family and you start understanding, you know, the morals and values that you want to bestow upon your kids, you know, there's a time and a place for all these things, you know? So I guess what my point is that growing up, you are always looking for what is the best thing that you can do for your surroundings, your community, right? The Republicans have always been the better pick. Okay? I'm proud to be a Republican. But I'm also that Georgia voter. And so many times I think that we get into this mindset. Of course, you know, that's standard mindset for if you join a party or anything, that you have to vote down party lines, that you have to vote for the lesser of two evils, that you have to do this, or we're going to be, you know, the fear mongering of, we've got to hold our nose in 2022, or we're going to get Stacey Abrams. And yeah, we did that. But you know what we got for it? In this state, we didn't get anything in this state. In fact, I was listening to a YouTube video earlier this evening talking about Ron DeSantis getting in touch with Bill Lee, the governor of Tennessee, about immigration and how to stop these things and how to get more involved. Georgia was never mentioned in that whatsoever. Our governor, Brian Kemp, Georgia was never mentioned. Georgia is never mentioned in any of these talks. We're never the focus of anything that's considered, to me, good in the state, right? Because Georgia's a place to do business, and we welcome China. We've seen all this stuff, all right? We're growing by leaps and bounds here. We live in a state where we've had upwards of a $15 billion surplus in the last 2 or 3 years, but our state referendum was on a Georgia tax court. They wanted to referendum a Georgia tax court, no matter what, and we're going to get into this in another video. But wouldn't you think in a Republican-led state that instead of raising our millage rates on our school all across the state, instead of focusing on a tax court to begin with, with this kind of surplus, don't you think we'd have some Republicans that would talk about possibly lowering taxes for the individuals? Instead, what do we get? Well, guys, we got a surplus from 2024. We're going to give y'all a tax break. A tax break? What the heck is a tax break? Like a gas tax break? You see my point? We're not getting anything. The people are not getting anything in this state. And it's a shame because it's still business as usual, and they're still running on this stuff, and I don't know who is buying this crap, but it's just one facet of what we're having to deal with, right? Never mind the election process. Never mind the fact that we still are under contract with Dominion Voting Systems, and all of the tooth and nail fighting that we did in this state in the last 4 years. And we still don't have secure elections. The process is still not being followed. And we're being ignored by our local governments, our state government, right? So, look, I'm going to give you just a couple of examples that I think that will help out. For example, a lot of times when things happen to us, as our millage rates raise and all of these things, they can raise, last year, the year before, it goes up. Everything goes up. Your insurance goes up. Your millage rates go up. Your property taxes go up. Well, it's, okay, it's extra $20 a week, a month, whatever. What happens is that we continue to be asleep at the wheel because it doesn't affect us, right? It doesn't affect our bottom line. It doesn't affect our wallet until it does. And that is sort of a detriment in of itself, because what happens to us, the nobodies, right? So all of the sudden we wake up and say, my God, I'm going to have to sell this land. Oh my God, this is going to really hurt me. And then we march into the next meeting, fists raised in the air, ready to pounce on somebody, right? Ready to stop a 30% increase in property taxes, right? But the game is already being played. The paperwork has already been written up. The state has already dictated what they need to do. Your school boards and your commission boards, all they've been told is, hey, you got to sign this. And if you don't, well, you're going to go to jail, or you're going to lose all your incentives. And you just need to make it happen. And they magically have some smarty pants in there who has already went through the training class, and they know exactly how to explain this to the layman people. You see my point? We show up at these things madder than hell, ready to pounce, and what do? They retreat from us. They don't want to listen to us. They're bombarded by all these things, and in the very end, what's the same thing that always happens over and over and over again? The bill goes through. Your tax dollars go up, your paycheck goes down, and then we just have, we can't do nothing about it, right? Well, I challenge each one of you tonight, as we move into 2025, to very simply start up a dialogue with all of your representatives. Every single one of your representatives. Tell them who you are. Don't let them think that you're just that nobody that's going to walk in there and raise Cain whenever something doesn't go our way. Even the ones you can't stand. They need to know you by name. They need to know you by, when they see you, they say, oh, that's that person. You need to start reaching out to them now about the situations that you're fed up with, the what's to come. If you can't understand a bill, their job is to explain it to you, okay? We've got to start getting involved ahead of the game so that we are not sit there playing catch up to something that's already done, right? And I'm taking this advice myself. Just on the Georgia tax court, I have gotten in touch with all my representatives around me, asked them to help explain this to me, give me some insight, and the majority of them have, which I am currently putting together for a show. But we need to approach this going into the next 2 years where we are not just calling them every time there's a knee jerk. We need to start getting on top of what's going on, and we need to voice these things early, because that is the only way I think that you can be really effective, because they're not going to take you seriously if you just show up at the last minute, right? When everything, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. So I challenge each one of us, including myself. My representatives are going to be hearing much more from me, because I've been rather silent for a while with some of these people. But no more. I want them to know who I am. I want them to know that I am consciously aware of the things that are going on and coming up in the state, because that is the way that I get into their head that I am a Georgia voter, okay? And I expect something from you. Why are you doing this? Why are you not doing this? What my concerns are, because I'm the one that is being asked to vote for you, right? And secondly, I don't want to misconstrue this either, but the times of holding your nose and voting for the lesser two evils is over. Okay? We cannot just treat our votes any longer like it's just a given. Now, obviously, we have to vote. I'm not telling anybody not to vote. But the days of weak, feckless rhino candidates that are vying for our seat at the table, we cannot give our votes away to that anymore. Okay? We have come far too long. And we're no longer going to accept what has been going on in this state of Georgia. Okay? And right now, at the Georgia Capitol, there's musical chairs being played, because you have to understand that whether you like it or not, we want change yesterday, right? We want taxes to go down. We want our schools to be better. We want our government to cut spending. We want DEI out of our schools and our corporation, all of these things. But you must understand that the whole politics is a game, okay? And it's been going on for far longer than a lot of us have ever been involved with. And case in point, you get a new representative who, man, we're going to fix this. We're going to protect your Second Amendment. We're constitutional, all these things going on. And the minute that they walk into these chambers and these back rooms, you have these establishment politicians, these lifers in there that set them down and basically tell them, you've got two ways to do things. You're either going to do it our way, and if you do it our way, you vote the way we want you to vote, and you sign on to what, never mind the Constitution, never mind your people, your constituents. You do this, and guess what? There'll be a little money on the side for you. Or if you don't do this, well, we're going to make your life a living hell. We're going to ruin you in ways that you never believed, right? Now, specifically in Georgia, we know that there are two representatives, right? We have a state senator, Colton Moore, and Charlize Byrd, who the grassroots are total grassroots, and they have been punished for standing up. They've been punished in so many ways. And that is unacceptable. But the thing is that is how cutthroat this game is. You have a lot of people who are not willing to stand up and do the right thing, stand up and with the Constitution, stand up for what's good. I mean, we have Republicans in the state that voted for the Georgia Green New Deal, which is insane to me. We cannot accept this any longer, okay? So understand that right now, in the state of Georgia, under the Gold Dome, they're playing musical chairs. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They're laughing at us. They got all this money and this power and all the seats at the table. And it doesn't matter what you guys do. We're gonna musical chair this thing and swap this one for that one and go over here and it's gonna be more of the same. Well, let me tell you right now, my vote, I'm not throwing my votes away on this crap any longer, okay? Because every day that goes by, it gets clearer and clearer and clearer who the irredeemables are It gets clearer and clearer, the line in the sand where people are willing to go. And the grassroots have started primarying, right? We had some great people that stood up to primary a lot of these establishment cronies. And, you know, so it didn't go that well, right? I feel like we were splintered. We're all going in different ways. We're trying to figure out our place in all this. But moving forward in 2025, it is imperative that we, the people, we find the representatives that we want, all right, and that we can unify behind, regardless of what your so-called establishment is going to do. And we help them get on the ticket. We vote for these people. We send a clear message that it is no longer business as usual. We're not going to accept what we've been, or the status quo, right? Now, it's very important that we all start thinking this, and a lot of us are, because moving into 25, we've got huge elections coming in 2026, and already it's starting to heat up. We've already got one, Chris Carr, who's come out and said, I'm running for governor. But we as the people, the nobodies, the people that are the communities, we must figure out together who we want in these positions as governor, as secretary of state, lieutenant governor, state attorney. We must, because if we don't produce people, how can we, all we're doing is just griping, right? We can sit back, we can gripe about all these things, but unless we understand how critical it is to get the right people in the right position and use every bit of what we have, our social media, our podcast, our grouping together. And mind you, you're not going to get 100% of what you want out of anybody, okay? Let's not fool ourselves. But we must go into 2025 focused on what are we going to start off with at the new year, all right? That we've got to get behind these people, come heck or high water, right? Because I am not holding my nose any longer and voting for somebody just because. I'm not going to do it. I'm not asking you to do it. There was a good question posed last night. Well, don't we talk about we want people to come out and vote? Of course we do. All right, but at some point, what is voting worth if all we're getting is crap in and crap out? We can't sustain this. Our state is continually being bruised. And I'll tell you one thing. I will never vote for a Democrat. But with a Democrat, at least I know where the Democrats stand. It is very clear to me that what a Democrat is, what their intentions are, what they're going to try to do, and there's no secret. The problem is that we have a Republican status where we have no idea what we're going to have as representation. These people pretend to be our friends, and they pretend to care, and they pretend to do all of these things until they get in office and it becomes the uniparty, see? And we know this now, and they know we know it. But we cannot stand and abide by this, okay? At least with a Democrat, I know where things stand. But with Republicans, it's as cloudy as ever. We've got to change that. And with our grassroots, with us banding together and figuring out who we're going to start running and who we're going to get behind and support, we're going to be able to hold those people accountable, hold their feet to the fire, and make absolute sure that they do what is necessary to get the state back on track for the people, for families, for morals, values, respect, the whole deal. So I want you guys to be thinking. There's going to be a lot of think tanks, a lot of groups that are going to be banding together trying to figure out exactly who we want, when, and where. Regardless. Okay? Because there is an irredeemable list going out there, and I'm not going into it tonight, but there are irredeemable people that are going to be asking for your vote. And I am not willing at all to cast my vote for what I consider an irredeemable person. So, lastly, just make people listen to you. Get involved. Our GOPs need help. They need people to come in and fill positions, to come in and get involved. I've met so many great people that have done that. And it just doesn't stop with the GOP. Find groups that you can get involved with. Just continue to stay involved in, and especially the things that are coming up from legislation, things that are coming away in your state, the local commission boards, the school boards, the people in your communities that you don't know a whole lot about, the grants that are being spent in your areas, right? You must get involved in these kinds of things, and it doesn't mean you have to go 100%, but I guarantee you that just a little bit involvement, you will start meeting people that you can group up with where people are focused on this particular thing while you can focus on this particular thing. And I mean, it's been truly a blessing in this last year. I feel like 2024 was like this huge learning curve where we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't know a whole lot about how things worked. And we spent this entire year like learning, right? Getting more aware of our surroundings and our people and things we can do. Have had some awesome people that I'm working with right now. Been to all kinds of different meetings and I went into some of these not knowing squat and come out, wow, what did I just learn tonight, right? It's just being involved. And the more that you are, the less that they can reach in that cookie jar and play the game, right? We must be informed. So figure out a way that you can make one event next year, right? Figure out a way where you can talk to your legislature about something. It doesn't have to be anything that we talk about. It can be something totally that you just need to get a point across to them. If they only hear from the same 5 people every single time, they're going to ignore it, right? But the more they hear from the people, I mean, look at what Twitter has done for Donald Trump and some of these cabinet picks. Just by people getting out there and saying, no, we want this pick, we want that pick, right? Pete Hegseth is in the fight of his life right now. He's not giving in. And we need to continue to remind these people that we don't want them to give in. That's who we want there. Now, I could go through a litany of people, but I'm not going to. My point is make your voice be heard. You don't have to create a podcast and be as crazy as I am. You don't have to do a whole lot of stuff. You don't have to do it all the time, but figure out a way where you can get involved. I've met some people this year that were never involved ever, and at the drop of a hat, they were ready to pick up and go and do things. It was just like blew my mind. Like, really, you're gonna do this? Yeah. Now I've got people in my circle that I can call anytime I need to for support, and I'm telling you, I'm a nobody, and I'm dang proud of it. But that's what we need. And I guarantee you, if you get involved, guess what? You're not going to be alone. There's going to be other people that's going to pick you up, that's going to welcome you with open arms. But our whole state depends on it, right? This whole next year, bringing in Trump's cabinet and trying to strengthen America in the face of what we know is coming at us, right? You're going to be forced probably to band with people that are going to help protect you and help guide you through, because none of this is going away. We literally have people now calling for more vigilantes, calling for more of what we've just seen in the last week. Where does it end? It just keeps getting more and more insane. So find a way to get involved, man. I know in January, a lot of us are going to be getting involved down at the Capitol. I'm continually talking to representatives and bringing up things, and we're going to be highlighting a lot. We got a lot of good stuff planned. I can't wait. 2025 is going to be fun, I think. But that's just a few ideas that I wanted to throw out y'all's way, because you can't always depend on like 2 or 3, 5 people to do it. You've got to figure out where you can get in, and it's you take that leap and you get involved. Next thing you know, you're actually having fun and you're around good people and meeting new people, and it's all centered around making America great, right? Making the country great again, fighting against the spiritual battle of evil that's all around us. So All right, so I'm going to get the comments. Sharon Holland, good to see you this evening. Thank you so much. Andy Soha at my service. Thank you, Andy. Andy, I can't wait. Andy and I have been talking. We've been talking a while about some really good ideas that Andy Soha has, right? And how he wants to sit down and lay things out. And that's the kind of people that we need. That's the kind of energy that we need. It's people that have good ideas that want to really sit down and bring those to fruition, right? So I can't wait. Dorothy Michelle, good to see you this evening. Just got here and listening. Thank you, Dorothy. Hopefully one of these days we're going to meet in person. I'd love to come up to Blue Ridge, and man, I'd love to. So hopefully we can make that happen in 25. Antonio Jones, let's fire the place down. Let's burn the place down. Antonio, again, wonderful, wonderful dude. Gwinnett County War Room. He is blowing it out of the water. And like I said, when I talk to Antonio a lot, we working on things together, and people like that are genuine and really just wanting to make everything better. It's a blessing to have people like that in your life, and to be able to feed off of each other and to be able to support each other. That's really what it's all about. You're very much a blessing, sir. And he said, Facebook gave me a community strike just now for the fire emoji. Facebook is, you know, I could go on and on about Facebook. It's bleh. What can I say? I see people that are posting stuff today about comments and likes that I've seen this stuff like where I've been dealing with it for months and months. I mean, they constantly keep me on the down low, but it is what it is. But, you know, I keep saying, Mark Zuckerberg, put your money where your mouth is, man. If you want in on Make America Great Again, why don't you start by making Facebook great again? Because this is crap how you've shadow banned all of us. But Antonio says, but Kemp is a national governor's chair. Tell us where the country wants to take us. Georgia is terrible as far as their leadership. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, Brian Kemp. This was part of my last week's show that I will be delving into further. He is now the governor's chair for the Governors Association, right? So obviously we see, I mean, when NPR is talking about a Republican possibly being president, you know you've got some problems there, right? So what do you want to do? Do you want to come up with a grassroots candidate to run for governor that you can take your vote and you can put it in somebody that you believe in, or are you going to accept the same in, same out as we've had? You know, that's the challenge. LB64, good to have you. Says Kemp needs to go. We need to find someone to run against him. Absolutely. And he says, Ann Rattensberger, I could not agree with you more, and I challenge you to get with your local communities and we get together and we find that candidate that's going to represent we the people, and that we can put all of our faith and trust in and vote for. So absolutely. Like I said, there are irredeemables in this state, and right now some of these people are just playing musical chairs with your representation. We must not allow that to happen. So Sharon says rhinos are the worst. I agree. It's funny to me. I think we spent more time last night at the GOP meeting talking about Republicans, right? At a Republican GOP. And the thing is it dawned on me. I said, you know, how many times have we even talked about the Democrats? Hardly any at all, because we're having to fight this uniparty of Republicans. That, I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame that we can't get these people to do things the way we need them done. But no, they're the worst, and we've got to get rid of these people. Okay. And Tony says, agree. No more holding noses. I'm not. I'm always going to be an advocate for voting, but I am not going to be holding my nose any longer. Andy says the state legislatures already have their state of bills ready to go. They work all summer forming next year's agenda. They absolutely do. That's a good point. They work tirelessly all year working on the legislation that are going to move into the new year. So absolutely, it's already pretty much set and done, and we're going to have to figure out where we can get involved, and we're going to have to make our representation explain to us what they're doing, when they're doing. That's all. We've got to do that. We've got plans to do that this year. Richard Schroeder, good to have you. It's the state election board meeting. Absolutely. That is still very critical, right? We're not done by a long shot with our election integrity, all right? We've gotten placated for years. Might I remind you that we still don't have a ruling by Judge Totenberg in a huge, huge case, okay? So we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue to support the election board. We're going to continue to get rid of Dominion voting systems. We're going to continue to come up with a paper ballot system in this state. And we're going to continue to bring transparency front and center as we get rid of some of the filth that have been representing, right? We're going to get rid of these people and get people in there that we can put our trust behind, that we can build transparency together. The fight is dang sure not over. And Lisa Adams, she says, hey, y'all, it's good to see you, Lisa. Wonderful, wonderful. But I appreciate it. I think that the stream continued pretty good this evening. This is the first time doing it here in the secret lair. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get something out of it. As always, you can go to givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground to support me. This is another stream on X. I'll upload this to YouTube because YouTube hates me, and I haven't done anything with Truth Social. I mean, I try, but Anyhow, I appreciate it, guys. We're getting closer to Christmas. We'll see. I will not be doing a live stream next week, but I do plan to have a guest at some point next week, special guest. And I'm working on some big ones, and we got a great couple of end of the year good panel podcasts coming. I can't wait for that. We're already getting ready for it. Got some new faces to introduce to you. It's just 2025 is gonna be awesome. But anyway, I appreciate it. Let's think on this stuff tonight. Let's group together. Send me some messages, some texts. Tell me some people that you're interested in, that we can all get to know through the grassroots and figure out who we want to represent us in the state of Georgia. Okay? I hope everybody has a great evening, and I'll see you soon.
The legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting booty.
He said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsements from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.